Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. Got a sample on the bar tonight. Let's get into it. So on the bar tonight, I've got, bam, this is a sample of Dragon's Milk Bonded. And this sample comes courtesy of Brian and Deb over at Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiast. They sent over an incredible sort of care package, including this t-shirt and this Glen that I will be sipping whiskey out of tonight, along with a ton of really, really great samples. So Brian and Deb, thank you so much for your generosity on this. And please, if you haven't already, go check out Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiast. They've got a great channel. So I was chatting with Brian a little bit, and he was asking if I had any, sort of whiskeys that, he had on his shelf that I hadn't tried or that I was looking to try. And so I rattled off a few to him that are not available in Minnesota. And this one, to the best of my knowledge, is not. I've never seen it in Minnesota. Dragon's Milk is a bourbon that comes from New Holland Distilling, from what I can find on the World Wide Web. For those of you that get pissed every time I do one of these reviews and I don't have any information on the whiskey, I'll try to give you as much information as I can on this one. Bonded, so we're at 100 proof, of course, at least 4 years. This is a limited edition from them. And from what I found on their website is they do high malt bourbons, so malted grains. I don't know if that means just like malted grains, like all the grains are malted, or if they just have a high amount of malted barley in their mash bill. And they are pot distilled, and they are very proud of that. So that's the information I have. That's the information they gave on their website. So don't have an age statement on this one. But yeah, I'm excited to get into this one. I always appreciate when I can try whiskeys that are even like, common shelfer whiskeys that just aren't available in my area. And so that's where these samples that Brian and Deb sent over are really gonna come in handy for me. So thank you again, guys. So getting into it, on the nose here, interesting, it's kind of got, I always feel like pot still definitely has a specific sort of nose and flavor profile that I have not always been a fan of, but there actually have been a few where I think that note kind of complements it. And I always get like kind of there's a bit of a musty sort of vibe from a pot still. I don't know if that's a common thing or if it's power of suggestion just because I know it's a pot still. But let me know in the comments if that is a typical note you get from a pot still bourbon. But this one has it, but it's light. And it's kind of surrounded by some nice caramel. There's a little bit of a grain note to it. You can kind of get like a little bit of a corn note. But nice caramel, a little bit of pepper, a little bit of brown sugar. Nothing too wild, but definitely it's kind of like a down the middle bourbon with a little bit of stank on it. Stank in a good way, not in a bad way. Yeah, it's almost got like an interesting little signature to it. So, all right, well, enough of the nose. Let's get into the palate. Cheers. Wow. Off of that first sip, that's really interesting. It's good. I like it. A flavor note that I don't typically get from bourbon is apple. But I'm getting apple on this, like a crisp apple, kind of on top of those like standard kind of bourbon notes, like the caramel and brown sugar. And I wasn't really getting that on the palate. I think that maybe that pot still note that I was getting, that was kind of a sort of a funk and sort of a must. I think on the palate, that's kind of manifesting itself as that kind of like crisp red apple note. I'm assuming red because I don't eat apples, but I know what they taste like. I'm assuming this is a red apple. But yeah, that's really interesting. It took me a second there to really kind of figure out what that was because it was coming across in a different direction than I was expecting from the nose. But yeah, really interesting. Let's go in for the second sip here and pick this apart a little bit more. So after that second sip, not a whole lot changed, but the apple note is really, really kind of front and center for me, which I don't know if that's, I haven't seen any other reviews of this, but there's an interesting sort of like a wood note to it as well. Sometimes on some craft distilleries, I'll get kind of like a cedar sort of note that can go either way. I'm almost getting like an interesting like sandalwood or something off of this. This is interesting. Like I said before, it does have the standard kind of bourbon profile where it has the caramels and the brown sugar, maybe a little bit of like light butterscotch. It has all those things, so it's not just this, you know, kind of apple and interesting wood note that I'm talking about, but those are the more unique aspects of this that are kind of mixed in with those other flavors. And so for me, they're kind of sitting front and center just because that's what kind of separates this from like a very standard bourbon profile. But this is really good. I think these, I guess I don't know the price on this one. I did look up the price on, you know, their standard offering, which I think is around 50 to 60 bucks, I think. I'll try to put the price of this on the screen if I can find it. But yeah, this is a really nice bourbon. Not knowing the price, I can't really make a recommendation. Is it worth the money? But I think this is worth a try if you want something that's unique but still plays within, you know, the kind of boundaries of a standard bourbon, I guess, if that makes any sense. Like sometimes you get a hold of one where it's unique, but it's unique like in such a far direction that it almost, you know, is out of the realm of bourbon. So, you know, those can be great, but sometimes it's like, okay, it's a little more of a risk, you know, if you don't like it. And then sometimes you get one where it's a little more down the middle, but it has some kind of signatures on it that are a little bit different, but it still plays within, you know, the kind of, this is still kind of just in this, the area, the realm of a standard bourbon. And this one is kind of right on the edge of that. So let's go in for the final sip here. Okay, so forget everything I just said. When I cut away to have the final sip, I actually poured a little more and I sat with it a little bit longer. Everything I said flavor-wise was the same, but I realized a little bit more after kind of sitting with this for a couple of minutes. It's a little more outside of the standard bourbon profile than I gave it credit for. While it does have those notes, like I said, the kind of standard bourbon notes, the overall profile, I think that even the more I got into it, the more that kind of apple and sandalwood sort of, those flavors were just sort of like becoming even more and more front and center. So I think this does actually maybe go a little further out onto the fringe away from standard bourbon profile, but I think it does it in a good way. Like this is, I love it when I get a hold of a bourbon that has like a unique profile that doesn't go completely off the rails. And so I think this falls into that category. So this is a very, very interesting one. I have a little bit left in here. I'll probably polish that off later on tonight and sit with this a little bit longer. Another thing I should mention, this has a really nice viscosity to it, really nice mouthfeel. It, I don't know what the age of it is. Like I said, it's bonded, so we're at least 4 years. But it definitely has a nice kind of oily mouthfeel to it that kind of adds to the overall experience. But anyway, this is almost like a, with that apple sort of flavor, it's almost kind of like a refreshing, crisp bourbon, if that makes any sense at all. I don't know. What I do know is that I will definitely be looking to get a hold of more products from Dragon's Milk because I like this one enough that I'm interested to see where some of their other products go. And so I'll definitely be looking for them. I know they're not available everywhere, but I think you can order them on the website. And another thing about this, I don't have the bottle on the shelf, but Dragon's Milk might win the Cool Bottle Award for me. They have a really, really cool bottle. Not that that matters at the end of the day with the whiskey, but it looks damn cool on the shelf, I'm guessing. So anyway, folks, this has been Dragon's Milk Bonded on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And once again, thank you very, very much to Brian and Deb over at Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiast. Please go like, comment, and subscribe to them as well. And we'll see you on the next one.